Good morning, all you hot listeners. Welcome to episode 8 of Husband and Wife Talks. On today's episode, we talk about some fun new experiences we've had in Denver in the last few weeks. So, Whole Foods, a new workout gym, a farmer's market, and driving up to the mountains. So please listen for a nice overview of this past week's adventures.
Hey, Marta.
Hey, Adam.
What's the word, hummingbird?
It's National Avocado Day, so happy National Avocado Day.
How'd you find that out?
A friend.
A friend? Just randomly happens. I feel like national holidays just keep happening. There's just a holiday now every day.
This one is serious. At Chipotle, you can get free guac on one entree or free side of guac or regular order of chips and guac with purchase of burrito bowl, salad, or tacos. Only valid today. So if you're listening, the day it comes out, go to Chipotle and use the 7-digit code avocado.
Well, if you are listening multiple days past today on
then
Tuesday,
just ignore that.
and you might just want to ignore that. What's the next national holiday that's coming up this weekend? Isn't it like Grab Some Nuts Day or something?
No. I think it's just... I thought it was just Nuts Day?
Okay. Off to a hot start for all the hot listeners out there.
No, you're right. August 3rd, which is this coming Friday, is National Grab Some Nuts Day. So make sure, grab some almonds, pistachios, pecans, peanuts. We'll
make sure to grab some nuts on our drive to Arizona area when we're going down for a wedding. So that's exciting.
We're excited.
It's sort of a 10-hour drive that we need to split up, which reminds me, we need to go book hotels for where we need to go, or we're just going to wing it. But I guess, what is the word, Marta? What do you want to discuss this week for all the listeners out there, what we've been up to since still trying to get our bearings here in this new place, trying to understand everything that's going on, what's around us, trying to, assimilate into the Colorado culture.
I thought it was assimilate, not simulate.
I said assimilate.
Oh, I thought you said simulate.
No, I know.
Yep,
simulate
we're getting
means.
Involved with some plane simulations. Okay, never mind. Speaking of assimilating into the culture,
there you go.
We are very happy with our local grocery store, which is
oh god,
honestly the best grocery store I've ever been to. And call me a nerd or get some giggles out of it, but there's a Whole Foods by us that not only is it huge and it has fresh everything and all these, it had macaroons, like fresh macaroons, and they were delicious. And
I like
sushi.
That's
and
all
pizza.
you remember. The first thing you remember is the sweets, not the actual produce.
No, I said that they have a bunch of fresh produce, meats. So good.
So we went to this Whole Foods and you started freaking out. Looked like your head was about to explode when we walked into it. So what exactly made you freak out so much? I know sometimes you're, a grocery store nerd where you get excited about large grocery stores. I know in Maryland you would always be excited to go to Wegmans because they're always very well kept and
shout out to Wegmans, still my favorite Maryland grocery store.
Well organized, but this Whole Foods kind of felt like a Wegmans back in Maryland, where it was very large, had a lot of produce and everything that you could eat. That was very organic and local, which I noticed. There's a lot of local brands throughout.
Local to Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we walked in, and most grocery stores have the produce, the fresh veggies and fruits out front. So it had that. So that part wasn't, super crazy. It was just how huge it was, because usually Whole Foods, the ones I've been to, are a little bit smaller than, the giant grocery stores. Not giant, the brand. Giant meaning, the huge ones that you go to.
Yeah, it's like the one that we saw in Boulder, Colorado when we drove out.
It was more like a boutique-y type grocery store.
Which that grocery store was strange because we were looking for a Whole Foods, and for some reason the sign on the store said Ideal Market, which really threw me off.
But then when we put Whole Foods into Google Maps, it took us there. But then I kept missing. I missed the turn like 3 times because I didn't see the Whole Foods branding. I just saw like this random building, and I didn't realize that was it. So that was a little confusing. Mm. But another thing so aside from it being huge and it having all the fresh fruits and veggies and everything, it also was like really open and really well organized, which I liked. And then also I guess I just haven't been to a Whole Foods since Amazon and Whole Foods have gotten so integrated. So it was really cool as a Prime member to walk around and see all these like Prime deals. And then it was so integrated that when we checked out, I remember you just search in the Amazon app Whole Foods QR, and then you just scan it, and then it gives you whatever discounts they had in the store, which was pretty cool in my opinion.
I feel like there could be a better, more streamlined way than trying to search on the Amazon app, because what we've realized that sometimes data doesn't really want to work properly for us out here. We would get bars, but it doesn't want to load properly. So I feel like, I don't know if there's a way that they could streamline it if they sort of just give you they could send you every year, send you an Amazon Prime card or something to scan at Whole Foods. I don't know. It just seems like it's more of a hassle. But, I mean, I feel like you're fine with that because every time we go into like Bed Bath & Beyond or any other store, you're willing to go onto your phone, search all the coupon codes that are possible, and scan to get the better price, better deal.
Bed Bath & Beyond is one of the places that they always have coupons out, and then even if you don't have a coupon from them, you can just Google Bed Bath & Beyond coupon, and then usually, I think the most generic one,
20% off, right?
20% off a single item. So if you're buying like something expensive.
Hot tip.
Yeah. I mean, it's always nice to save money on something, even if it's only a few dollars. Because in the end, it adds up, and you can use those few dollars to go buy something at Whole Foods, because that's grocery store.
I did notice that there were actually really good deals with the Amazon Prime.
Honestly, the price, even without the Amazon Prime, like the pricing was not crazy.
Because normally you would buy like 3 items for $300 at Whole Foods. I know that's a little exaggerated, but I think people out there sort of understand. A lot of times when I would go to Whole Foods back in the day, it would be 4 veggies and meats specifically, because if you bought anything else up and down the aisles, they're all higher priced, even if they're the same quality brands that you normally see. Or sometimes there's brands where it's more organic, so it's higher priced than what you would normally get at a grocery store. But for some reason, it seemed like the prices have slowly declined. I mean, that's what happened when they Amazon first acquired Whole Foods. I think the prices dropped like 43% or something like that across the board throughout. And I think I saw an article where they compared prices over time of the acquisition from Amazon to Whole Foods, where certain produce like raspberries and things of that nature dropped like $1 throughout the year.
Yeah, I definitely noticed the prices were cheaper overall than what I had expected from previous Whole Foods. Even like meats were very reasonably priced, and vegetables weren't that expensive. So that was nice. I
think Amazon's trying to compete more and more with the general grocery stores. I mean, maybe that's why you see a Whole Foods on this magnitude now, is that maybe they're trying to build up Whole Foods, try to stay organic on that side, have that feel, but also being able to go there for your everyday grocery needs. We'll see if that actually pans out, or if they actually plan on using Whole Foods as set up for their, the Amazon Home Store or Amazon Go, the Amazon Store, grocery store that you see in Seattle, where you could just walk in, grab stuff, and walk out. You don't need to stop at a cashier's or anything.
Isn't that because there's like sensors or something that tracks like what you pick up, and then it just automatically charges your account that's on file?
Yeah, you have an account on file, which I think you need to swipe when you go in, and then they have cameras all around and sensors on like each product, so when you take it off, it registers on the app or whatever you have that you took this item. And then as soon as you walk out with all those items, I'm assuming you're probably going to have to make sure that all the items that you have are on there. And as soon as you walk out, it just charges you. No need for cashiers or anything, which I think caused an uppity roar with people that worked at cash registers and things of that nature, because their job may not be needed as much if these stores become more prominent throughout the country.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they will. This seems like a very uppity scale store that maybe hipsters and people of higher means may visit.
Yeah. I don't see that being, I don't know, I guess it's hard to tell, but I don't see that being like the next big thing in grocery stores.
Why is that?
I don't know. Like you said, it just seems very fancy, and the cost to implement that technology seems like it wouldn't be feasible or worth it in every single grocery store. Like the more low-cost grocery stores that are just all about being budget-friendly, I don't see them implementing this because I don't see how that would help them and their kind of bottom line and their ideas.
I feel like eventually stores would want to get to that place because in the end they're businesses, and if they can reduce the cost of paying employees every single day per hour on this, they may go that route. But I feel like it's going to take a longer time because those Amazon stores aren't that large. They're very tiny. From what I remember when they first came out and looking at it, the stores weren't that large. So I can't imagine this be implemented anywhere close or anywhere soon to being like on the sides of like Walmart or a large Wegmans or a large Giant or any of the large grocery stores where there's a lot of aisles, a lot of people walking around. Because that's the main thing with the Amazon stores, they have to cap the amount of people that go into it, I think, so there's not so many people walking around so the sensors can pick up who's grabbing what. I think that's one of the main issues, is that they have to curtail the amount that actually go into the store because they could throw off the sensors, and that's definitely going to be an issue for larger retailers.
Definitely. And another thing that I think would be an issue with that type of technology is how do you pay with cash or like food stamps or anything like that? Any payment form other than just the traditional credit card, because you have to, for it to be so seamless where you just walk in and walk out, you have to have some sort of payment on file. But if you're using cash or anything else, you still have to go somewhere and give either a physical person or some sort of machine that cash. So that would complicate it a little bit, which, like you said, it would be a reason why it would be more high-end boutique type store rather than a mass.
Yeah, someone like Ron Swanson is not going to be using this type of store who only pays in cash and doesn't trust the government or the credit card companies because he doesn't want his name on file.
Shout out to Parks and Rec.
We're just watching that. It's a good show. But any more things to gush about the Whole Foods that's around here? I think for me it was just surprising at how, when we first passed it, I remember looking to the right. I think we just passed it.
It's
like, was
massive.
that a Whole Foods? Because it looks as large as like a normal grocery store that you would see.
Or even like a Target from the side. Like Targets are always pretty huge and take up not a whole block. Well, I guess a block depending on how big of a block you're talking.
Oh, the Target here is huge too.
Yeah.
It's great not having to walk up or have like escalators or park in a parking garage. You mentioned that to go to like a Target.
Or Whole Foods.
Because we noticed that a lot in the Rockville area, Maryland. Just because everything's so packed and congested and very tight. They have to find space, so there's parking garages next to Target, and Target has to go up multiple levels, and it's the Whole Foods by us had 2 different levels. It was a fun time.
But yeah, it was a nice experience. I mean, and also I feel like usually, I think you mentioned this, that you would go to Whole Foods for like specific things if you were looking for a specific type of meat that you wanted to know that it was fresh or a good cut or whatever. But this just had everything. Like if you're just looking for your basic chicken breast, nothing fancy, they have that. But then if you also want some super fancy meat or whatever, they have that too. So I think that's a way that they're trying to market to all sorts of people and not just people that are trying to be super organic, healthy, blah, blah, blah.
Which you can still find that stuff there.
Yeah. But I'll stop ranting about Whole Foods. It was awesome.
I'm sure you can go for another 50 minutes talking about Whole Foods, my love.
Probably. I should have taken notes about all the awesome things. Those macaroons, I was just like, we were walking through the right side of the store by the meats and then the bread and stuff. And then I just see this like one of those freezer containers that you just slide open the doors to get either ice cream or like sometimes shrimp are in those or stuff like that. And it was just macaroons.
Yeah. I always see those. I forget what they're called. It's like the ice cream that's surrounded by like this really weird gelatin flavored thing.
Oh, mochi?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of those. I just remember seeing them. They're always
Mochi.
Mochi?
Yeah.
I see them in Whole Foods. I tried them once. Not a fan of the outside layer. I like the inside, but the outside.
I know they're really popular. Yeah, I'm also not a fan of the
that texture.
Yeah.
I think that texture kind of reminds me of what you have with like bubble tea. Like those the bubbles at the bottom. I'm not a fan of that. I like the whole tea portion until those bubbles start coming up the straw, and I spit them out as soon as I get them. I'm like,
I used to like those. I remember freshman year, my friends and I in college, we would go to a bubble tea place on Route 1, and we would hang out there and play games and stuff. But then there was some issue about, I think they found like issues with the food quality, and there was like rats or so. There were some like really sketchy infestations, and then they closed it.
# College Park Restaurants.
And then I think we just never went back after that because it was just like, when a place closes down because of food quality issues, you don't really want to go back there. Because, I mean, they might be able to rebuild and come back from that, but it's just a mental thing where you don't know if you can trust them again.
That's what happened with one of my friends went to a pizza place there. It closed down now because of poor quality. It was right on the corner where Nando's is now. I forget what it was called for the life of me.
Is it like Kingdom Pizza or something?
No, I can't remember, but he ended up getting like a pizza with like a lot of meat on it, and the next day he had like really bad food poisoning. I was like, I guess we're never going to that place ever again. It just looked, you could sort of tell when places don't seem like kept up properly sometimes, and it just, after somebody gets food poisoning at a place, you don't really want to test it again, except for people do that with Chipotle all the time.
I mean, we did that. There was that whole Chipotle scandal, and now we all trust Chipotle.
Yeah, no, that's why I mentioned. Like, Chipotle is for some reason the exception, which I did see an article that they closed down on Ohio Chipotle because it was reported that there was like a food illness going on in the area, even though they haven't found anything yet, so it may have just been like a scam. But it just seems like every few months Chipotle is in the news about some outbreak or something that's going on with their store. But yet people still go because it is delicious. You just have to hope that the people running the store actually clean the products properly and properly get the right.
Yeah. Although you have to not worry, but that's something that is relevant at any fast food store or restaurant where there's
You're putting a lot of trust in these people.
Yeah. A lot of turnover with food and like making sure meats are cooked and all of that. So
hands are clean when they're making the food, all that jazz.
Don't have to worry about that, though, if you go to Whole Foods and buy your own ingredients and then cook your own meals.
No, back to Whole Foods. Man. Yeah, but
okay. Whole Foods rant over.
So what else have we been up to? I think we sort of have been up to something crazy, according to our bodies, because they're not too happy with us right now. Do you want to explain more, I guess?
Sure. So just to give some background, when we visited Denver over like the July 4th holiday and then a few days after, we were looking for apartments here, and we also, so the apartment we ended up going with, they had some information about a certain gym in the area and a 14-day free trial, and the leasing agent said she was actually going to this gym, so we were like, maybe we should, check it out, since neither of us are really fans of like the traditional Planet Fitness, 24-hour fitness, or whatever it's called. Nothing against the gym itself, but I think sometimes when you're not sure what kind of workouts to do, or you don't necessarily like going to a gym and just doing your own thing and not having any sense of community, it can be harder to stay motivated and also to see results, because if you're just going there and you don't know what to do, like, you might not be doing the right thing.
Yeah, the most interactions at those gyms when you walk in, do like the little swipe, like the barcode swipe, the people at the front desk say, hi, okay, you're in, and that's basically it seems like, with those types of gyms. And a lot of people don't know exactly what to do when they go to the gym. They just like start lifting weights. You sometimes see like older people or just people in general going to different weights, working out every single muscle, which I don't think is the proper way to go about it. especially with heavy weightlifting. It can cause some issues if you're using every muscle in your body to lift.
Yeah. So anyway, that's some background about what we were thinking as far as gym-wise in the area. So then the place that our apartment complex had a free pass to was called Fitrition. And we were like, oh, it's a 14-day free trial. Like, we'll go there. And we kind of had some free time to kill while we were here. So we ended up just going to visit while we were here a few weeks ago just to check it out and see, is this actually someplace we would be interested in at all? Or is this something we can just kind of knock off our list? And
of course, we
moving?
accidentally showed up at like a time when they're not actually open.
Yeah, because they have classes in the morning and then a few at lunch and then in the evening after the 9 to 5, after 5 o'clock. So I think we showed up at like 3 or 3:30. But luckily someone was in there. So we got a tour of the gym and got some information from her. But it was really cool because, so it's called Fitrition because they do both fitness there. So there's a few different studio gyms that I'll get to. And then they also do help with your nutrition. So they have different like proteins and all these types of supplements, I guess, to help you depending on like what your goals are and what you're trying to do.
If you want to do that.
Yeah, if you want to. That's totally optional.
Because I think the main reasoning behind what they want to do is because that was a poor statement. But the main reason that they want to incorporate nutrition with fitness is a lot of times, when you go to the gym, it's most of the time just working out. But I mean, the generic statement, which is pretty much true, is 80% of you losing weight or getting in shape is what you eat, not what you do. 20% is working out. But if you eat properly, I feel like you'll start losing weight just because you're putting the right things in your body, the right amount of stuff. Because a lot of times we like to, I think a lot of Americans just like to snack or just randomly eat stuff when they're bored or things of that nature, where you're just putting on calories and improper fats and not eating proper protein and things of that nature, where it starts building up and you start gaining fat and your metabolic rate age increases throughout. So I think that's the main goal, is to try to get you onto the proper mindset of eating properly and then also working out, doing exercises that sort of work out all your body kind of, but in like more of a natural way, I think.
Yeah, and something that the owner said to us and the rest of the students in the classes that we've been taking is that you can't outwork poor nutrition. So just like you were saying, Adam, if you're working out 2 hours a day every day, but then after you work out, you go eat all this garbage, eventually, maybe not immediately, if you're still young and you have a high metabolism, maybe it won't show. But eventually, once your metabolism does slow down and you're not eating necessarily the best, like, it will catch up to you. And
yeah, that's what the owner was saying, that because he was a big workout guy, he's been doing all this physical training stuff throughout his life, so he's always been into working out. And at a certain point, he was working out 2 times a day, doing cardio and then weightlifting, but he didn't really see that much results. He was at like 29% body fat, even though he was working out 7 days a week, two a days basically, and he was still at such a high content or body percentage fat rate. That was body percentage, basically. Body fat percentage. Man, I can't speak today, this morning. It's too early for me. You're wide awake. I'm still a little groggy.
But yeah, it's interesting because their approach at this gym is, I mean, it's different because normal gyms where you just buy a membership and they have all the gym equipment and it's more independent working out, you don't really necessarily get this type of information or learn as much about what to look for and how to work out and stuff like that, unless you do personal training or you have some sort of coach that's usually more one-on-one.
Nutritionist who talks to you every single day about what you should be eating, what meals you need to prepare or eat. Yeah.
But then the other cool thing about the gym is that they have 4 different, it's kind of like a boutique gym. So if you think about, I've never been to Orange Theory, but like the bar places or places that do kickboxing or cycling, it's kind of like those, but all of them into one. So they have 4 main studios where it's kind of like those boutique places all wrapped into this one gym, which is cool because you can try out different classes, but also mix it up. So you're not always doing, I mean, if you love, for example, bar or spin, then you should just go do that at whatever gym you like. Like, no one's saying go to a place that does all the classes if that's not what you're interested in. But I think both of us are the type of person where we just get bored with doing the same thing. So it's super cool because they have bar here. They have a high intensity studio. They have a class that does Helix, which is a kind of an elliptical, but it's a different type of machine. And then that's mixed with a spin class. So it's like half and half. And then they have one that's pretty much cardio, weightlifting at different stations. It's very intense. It's very fast-paced, and you're definitely feeling exhausted by the end of that. So they have those 4 different types, and we've tried out, I guess, 2 so far.
Yes.
And I've liked both of them.
We were going to do the high-intensity interval training, but it got canceled on us early yesterday morning. So we ended up doing Fit Lab again, which, I don't feel the first day after doing the first Fit Lab, oh my goodness. We were so sore. I think our bodies were just like, what the heck? Because we've been busy packing and haven't really worked out as much after the wedding and everything and the honeymoon. Haven't really been focusing on getting fit. And I think now we're more focused on eating properly and trying to get into the better shape. Because I think mentality-wise is if you start seeing results, you start getting in better shape, I feel like that mentally for you, you'll get less self-conscious, you'll maybe have more energy throughout the day, be willing to take risks on certain things. And so I'm excited to keep with this and hopefully see results soon.
Yeah, me too. And I'm excited to try the other classes because I've never done bar in my life.
I don't even know what that is. Is it just like because you go into it's kind of like a little dance studio with bars and things of that nature. I don't know exactly what you do with this studio as you look it up. I don't want there to be dead air, so I'm just going to keep talking until you find the answer. So stick with me, hot listeners, as I just watch and stare at Marta until she finds the answer.
So bar classes are ballet inspired, so they incorporate some of ballet and then elements of Pilates, dance, yoga, and functional training. And I've actually heard that bar is a lot harder than it looks. Not that I ever thought it was easy, because ballet looks really hard, especially with all the balance and the toe, standing on the tippy toes. I can't do that, but I definitely want to try it. I
mean, yoga looks relatively easy until you're in doing yoga and you have to hold a really difficult pose for a minute and a half or something. Because I remember doing yoga, I don't know, a few years ago, and I was in better shape than I am now, but I was sweating, like just buckets of sweat just doing yoga, which is kind of insane to think about because you're just holding poses. You're not doing anything crazy, but I think it's just for posture and building up core strength and kind of stretching out your muscles, which I think the main issue with a lot of people is they don't build enough core strength. So all these classes sort of are really difficult for people at the beginning, especially for me. Like I rarely have any core strength, so I'm trying to keep myself up properly. So I think it's the main thing that you need to build first in all these classes is your core strength, and then that sort of builds up on top of building strength in your arms, your back, and things of that nature.
And also remember that we are in Denver, Colorado, which is the Mile High City. So we are about 5,200 feet above sea level. So we're also, not to use that as an excuse, but like people actually say that getting used to the elevation takes some time. And especially since there's less oxygen higher up, it's harder to catch your breath. And I think we definitely felt that the first day. Like I remember just like not being able to just catch my breath because it was just, in addition to doing a really hard workout, it was, the air was thin and I just wasn't used to that either. Yeah,
but I said this to you as we were going, talking about it, as I would still been just as out of breath if we did it at normal sea level than up here. I don't know. I think it just I may have lost my breath sooner than I would have down in sea level area. I would just still been dead tired at the end of it.
Yeah, for sure. Just a little bit more tired and more exhausted with that elevation aspect. But once we get used to it, we won't have that as, it won't matter as much because it'll just be part of how we live.
Yeah, and we may get a better workout and be in better shape when we go from Denver to other places, because that's a lot of times people like to train at high altitudes, or they have like a high altitude like sleep chamber or things of that nature where they get their body used to the high altitude, so they work on less oxygen coming to the body. So then when they go, actually perform the sport or run a marathon or box or fight, that they're in better shape just because they worked out in this high altitude. I mean, that's why you see now people wear those scary kind of like Bane looking masks when they run. That's supposed to like try to make it mimic high altitude so they get less oxygen while they're breathing. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anything else about Fitrition?
No, I just like the main thing I can say is I really like the people that work out there, or the coaches. It seems like, at least the main owner, he seems really into it, which I appreciate. I appreciate when somebody's like kind of really into it, where they're, this may sound wrong, but scatterbrain kind of when they talk about it, because they're over here with one thing, then they're talking about another thing, but they're very like sociable and really excited about explaining this to you. Which I really appreciate. And he's always running one of the classes, so he's not one of those owners that starts up a gym and then just hires other trainers to do it. He actually personally believes
he's
in
very
all this,
hands-on,
which I really like. And I really like the fact that they have a lot of before and after pictures, which makes you motivated to keep going, because you see other people they've got there by working out and eating properly, which, I mean, I feel like it's such an obvious thing to say, but it's kind of hard sometimes in everyday life to follow that, because work gets in the way, traffic gets in the way, a lot of things get in the way of you eating properly or working out, and the stresses of life and things of that nature. Yeah.
Definitely like that it's results oriented. So it's not just a gym saying like, oh, join us because, I don't know, join us because we have a good membership deal or whatever, and then
those gyms are trying to get you into the door and purchase the contract, and then that's it. Very more sales oriented versus rewards oriented, which it's nice.
Yeah, definitely inspiring, because they have TV screens that just rotate through, I don't know how many
results,
like a lot of different before and afters, and some of them are people that you see there in the classes itself. So you can just like look over to your neighbor and see like, wow, this person is down this much and they're still working towards their goal, but they've already made a lot of progress. So it's pretty cool in that sense.
There were like some 40 to 50-year-old ladies in like the Fit Lab, like the really intense ones that were kicking our butts.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Hopefully, I want to stick with it. I think we will. We just have to get into a rhythm, which we have been going for the past 5 days we've gone.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 5 in a row.
So our body's like, what the heck are you doing to us right now? Because it's just not used to all this hot, intense workouts. One of the workouts we did, because you didn't mention, was, I think, it's not really in the regular schedule, but it's like a special class on Saturday.
Yeah.
Pound, which was kind of fun, where it's basically you take drumsticks and you sort of are like in kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of yoga, where you're like in certain poses, but you're also kind of moving around to the rhythm of the beat, and you're like kind of getting out your energy by hitting the ground, and you're doing some ab workout and stuff, which was kind of fun. It was really high energy. The instructor was really into it, which I liked, and she was singing along to all the high intense songs, so it was a fun time.
Yeah. I had trouble with that one because, I don't know, rhythm was a problem, and when you're already out of breath and also trying to keep track of the rhythm with your drumsticks, it's hard. But it was fun, and it was definitely different than any other class.
I think it's just like the instructor mentioned, is a lot of times when you go to those first classes, I think it's when you're also learning dance and things of that nature, you're thinking so much that it sort of messes up with like your movements and stuff. But at a certain point, like the muscle memory sort of clicks with what you've seen, and a lot of the moves are kind of the same, so you end up being able to just do it naturally without thinking. So hopefully get there. I guess move on to another thing that we did this week. We just decided to take a drive just to explore the Colorado area. I don't know how we chose this. I think I just saw like a park area that was close to a town in Netherlands, Colorado, which I always think you always make the joke it sounds like Netherlands, but they just screwed up with the spelling basically.
Yeah, because Neder, Neder, and Netherlands is the TH.
Yeah.
It's funny.
They Americanized it, I guess, Netherlands. And then we went up there, saw like all the mountains. We were up, what was it, like 8,000 feet above sea level, like even higher.
Yeah, we drove, so my car was navigating these kind of windy roads up the mountain, and we went up, I think it was above 8,000 feet. So we went up in elevation at least 3,000 feet, which is crazy because when we were driving, I did not realize we were going up. So, like, obviously I realized we were going uphill because I was pushing gas the whole time. But it wasn't like one of those steep inclines when you're like, oh my gosh, we're going so steep. It was just a very slight incline. So it was crazy to me when I saw that sign above 8,000 feet. Like, whoa, when did we get here?
And it was kind of cool because it had like a tiny little lake that had like a dam connected to it, and there was like some mountain houses like all around the lake. Kind of weirdly enough made me think of Verena just on a really tiny scale because there's mountains around this little lake. Verena?
Oh, Verena in Italy.
Yeah, Lake Como. Remind me of that. But they had a cute little, Netherlands had a cute little town, which was really hopping, surprisingly enough. I guess it's because it's like an hour away from Colorado that people just, I guess, drive out there, maybe go camping or something.
An hour from like Denver?
Yeah. Did I say Colorado?
Yeah.
Just Colorado in general. Yeah, Denver. Sorry, I apologize. But it's an hour away from Denver, so maybe people go up there to camp or do stuff during the summer. Because I noticed some mountains out there, not the one that we tried to go to, but some mountain resorts have summer activities that you can do, where zip lining or roller coastering and things of that nature, which I think I want to go to one and explore. I want to go to I think Vail has something like that.
I know Vail has tons of summer activities.
Adventure pass where you can do all that stuff for like a $99. So I kind of want to explore that and go have fun.
Yeah. Speaking of that, so when we were in Nederland by that lake or reservoir that they have there, we saw mountains in the near-ish distance with like the you could see snow at the very top, and then you could...
Was it snow, though?
It was definitely snow. And then you could tell that it was a ski resort because ski resorts have, like, the trees cleared out for the different trails. So in the summer, it's fairly obvious if you're a skier to recognize it because you can see the different trails and whatever.
It's kind of funny looking when you see that there's just random patches of trees not being on a mountain.
Yeah. But then we were trying to not kill time, but we had some time before some evening plans, so we were just trying to spend as much time as we could in the mountains, and we didn't want to turn back as soon as we got there because it was really beautiful. So then, of course, the ski lover I am, I decided to see if there was any... Oh, no, so I looked up ski resorts in the area, and then I was trying to figure out what the name of the mountain was that we saw, and then I saw it on the map, and I was like, oh, that's definitely not far away. It's probably the Winter Park Resort. And then I looked it up, and it's literally an hour and a half drive because you had to drive all the way south back onto a main road and then west and then back north. There was no way to just go directly, probably because then you'd be driving in the middle of the mountains and there's no road there. So makes sense. But obviously we weren't going to drive an hour and a half even further away because we didn't have that much time to kill. But we found a mountain that was about 15 minutes away, which was kind of funny because I didn't think there was a ski mountain 15 minutes away. But I realized that Eldora Mountain was really close to Nederland, so we decided to drive there. And like you said, since Vail has those summer activities and a few other places do, I assumed wrongly that there would be, at least it would be open. I didn't expect them to have like a festival or anything crazy in terms of activities, but I at least thought that the entrance would be open so we could drive up and see the resort just from the base of the mountain and see it in the summertime since I've never really seen any of them, and I thought that would be cool. But we're driving even further up, so driving
This
uphill,
was more of a steep
This was
drive.
more steep and even more windy because some of the parts of the roads didn't really, I mean, they had one of those metal railings, but you could still see down, and it was pretty steep. So we're driving, and I'm getting all excited because from the distance, you can see the mountains and the trails. So as we're getting closer, I'm getting more excited. Oh, we're going to get to see it up close, and I wonder if they have anything. And then, so anticlimactic, we get there, and the gates are closed before you can drive into the parking lot. So it's just, this road ends, and it says Eldora Mountain Resort, and then it just says closed for the summer. And they have trails where you can, I think they had a hiking trail, I'm not sure, because it had some signs about snowshoeing and cross-country skiing, so I'm not sure if that's also doubles as a hiking trail, but we weren't dressed to go hiking. But it was funny, but also like kind of sad because I was so excited, and from a distance, it was such a beautiful view. And then you drive up, and not only are you disappointed because it's closed, but also you can't see anything because when you're that close, all the big trees were around. So even if I tried to peek around, I couldn't see the mountain anymore. So that was funny, kind of sad a little bit.
It seems strange, though, when mountains are closed for the summer, because it just seems like they're wasting out on some form of profit or anything. Like maybe people would want to come hiking, or
even
maybe
hiking, mountain biking.
Yeah, mountain bike. I don't know, maybe some zip lining, things of that nature. Because I know we just mentioned it, but Vail or any other the roads farther or the mountains farther to the west, a lot of times when you're going skiing, you also can sometimes, or when you're going up the gondola to top of the ski mountain, sometimes you can see those, like the ramps that they build for mountain biking to go down and like do jumps and turns and things of that nature. So I feel like they're just missing out on things to do for people in that area in the summer. I feel like people would love to just go up there and maybe stay there at like the ski resort, because I'm sure it's like a beautiful view even in the summer. I don't know exactly what you can do. There was a ski resort though to the west. I can't remember which one, but during the summer they do a lot of those things. But they also have like horseback riding and
Was it Breck?
I think it may have been Breck, but they just had a lot of different things that you could do during the summer, and I think golfing, another big one in that area. And so I just feel like they're missing out on stuff, which was kind of, like you said, a little disappointing and anticlimactic when we drove up and just saw a big gate across the entrance saying it was closed.
Yeah, and I'm just curious if they were closed because they're doing some sort of renovations or something like that, and they just don't want a bunch of people walking around, or if that's the norm. Maybe. We didn't look into it because it was very spontaneous, but
I mean, summer is a good time for them to do renovations if that's the case.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe they are open other times, but I just feel like they're missing out on stuff. Like, what are you doing? You're missing out on money. Man, money's good. Am I right, people? I don't know what's wrong with me. Moving on, I guess, to other things that we did, which I know you are really excited about just in general. You love, I mean, anybody that's listening, if Marta's into Whole Foods, you can imagine how into farmer markets Marta is. She loves walking around, looking at all the fresh produce and all of that. So I should just turn it over to you because I just hear the excitement in your voice talking about it. Go for it, babe. Sure.
So when we did our Fitrition, I think we did the Fit Lab class yesterday No. This was on Friday. Maybe Saturday. I don't know. Poor start to the story. But anyway, after we did the class, we were asking the one girl that works there and then another trainer or someone who had led the class, one of the classes. We asked them if they had any recommendations of stuff to do in the area or anything fun. And they both mentioned farmers markets, that there's a bunch in the Denver area that are open like throughout the weekend. So someone mentioned the Highlands Ranch Farmers Market, which is about 20 minutes south of us. So it was very close.
Like you said, the Eagleton of South Denver. If anyone gets that reference, they've watched enough Parks and Rec.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because in Denver, at least in our experience, not that we've been here so long, but the neighborhoods are very different. Like, even when we were driving around looking at apartments, the town of Englewood had a totally different feel than Centennial, than Highlands Ranch. And Highlands Ranch just feels like very, very high-end, very fancy. There's a golf course, and even the sign to it says, "Welcome to Highlands Ranch," and it has like an eagle there, which made me think of the whole Eagleton thing from Parks and Rec. But it's very nice, and it's further from the city, so I guess they just have more open space and more land to kind of have that open feel. So we went to that farmer's market. It was so nice, obviously. I don't know why I even thought that I might be not impressed, because I feel like every farmer's market I go to is...
You're always like walking around like, oh, look at those, look at that meat, look at that fresh pasta.
Oh, it was so nice. And so it was funny because when we got there, we just walked to one of the very first vendors, and she was selling sausages, but then also something that we thought were sausages, but they were really salamis. There was like elk meat salami and bison, I think. Definitely beef. And then we like got super into that conversation, and then we realized maybe we should walk around because we don't want to buy stuff and then be holding stuff that needs to be refrigerated outside in the heat for a long time.
That's a tip for people that go to farmer markets. Peruse twice before you commit on purchasing. Once you decide what you want to buy, just go to them straight, so then you don't have to hold on to things that need to be refrigerated for too long out in the sun.
And then also you get to know the options, so then if you want to buy, for example, a certain type of produce or a certain type of meat, you get to get a feeler of what else is out there, so you don't buy something and then realize the vendor 30 feet away actually had a better price and better quality of that same product. So after we talked to her, then we kind of just perused a little bit, and then it was so funny. There's all the typical like meat places, a seafood vendor, a bunch of fruits and vegetables. And then there was a tent. I don't remember what the vendor was called, but she was selling sheets. I think they were bamboo, made of bamboo. And she had these pillows out, or at least the pillow cases were made of bamboo. I'm not sure what the actual inside was made of, but everything was so soft. And I was like, we're not even in the market for sheets, but they're just so soft and nice. And then she told us the price, and we were like, okay, yeah, we'll definitely consider you and maybe come back when we actually...
We never return.
I mean, I meant in the future weeks, not the day of.
We never will return.
Definitely will. They're super nice and soft, and I want them at some point. But yeah, it was super nice. Also, so many dogs. I know people keep saying that everybody in Colorado has a Subaru and a dog, but I was shocked. I almost felt like I was in a dog park and all these vendors just like drove into the dog park by accident. Everybody had a dog. Big dogs, small dogs, puppies, gigantic, probably 100-pound bulldogs. Like every type of dog. It was something to see for sure. But then we decided to get smoked. There was a vendor who, I don't know how he gets these shipments of fish, of
From
fresh
Alaska.
salmon. I guess he must have a contact up there or someone he works with. But we got smoked salmon, which was so good, and Adam had never tried it before. Which I guess my best description of it to someone who's never had it before is, think of beef jerky, how beef jerky is beef, but like not smoked, but jerkied, dried, jerkified. I don't know the word, but like dried up and made into that jerky type texture. So I equate smoked salmon to kind of the equivalent, except beef jerky is really dry and really sometimes chewy, but smoked salmon is pretty much salmon, but just has that smoky texture, which is beef jerky can kind of have. So that was my best description, but
it was a pretty good description. It was the first time I had it. It was very delicious. We ate it on the first day that we bought it. Didn't really last that long. Wish we bought more.
Yeah, it was really good. And then we got steak burgers from a vendor who, it was really funny. So he was actually complaining to another woman that was standing there as we were waiting off to the side, waiting for him to finish talking to her. He was complaining about how Colorado is being flooded with all these new people moving here from out of town. And I was like, you know what? I want him to feel a little bit uncomfortable because he made me feel a little uncomfortable. So I was like, actually, we just moved here last week. And then he was like, oh, well, I live in Colorado Springs, so I didn't mean to say anything mean about you. And I was like, oh, no, it's okay. We're giving you business, so you're probably happy about that. He was like, yeah, I know. It was lighthearted, but definitely a little
Well, I can see like I was saying, I can see his point.
Yeah.
Denver's always been relatively large. I think there's just been just more of a boom now, or a boom of people coming to the area just because of the tech center and more tech companies coming to Denver. But I think the main reason he was saying that there's more people that he's not, it's just a lot of people flooding the area, which the architecture and market is not conducive for all these people, because he lives down in Colorado Springs, where Colorado Springs is normally a lot smaller, a lot less people. But apparently now, what is he saying now? 1 million people moved to that area, or the population just spiked to 1 million, which wasn't really that case. Didn't have that many people there before, because Colorado Springs in itself is normally the cheaper area relative to Denver. Because I remember when we were doing like real estate investing research, they always recommended Colorado Springs just because the prices were definitely cheaper comparatively.
They still are a lot
to
cheaper.
Denver. Yeah. But a lot of people, I think, are moving to Colorado Springs because of the cheaper prices, and then just commute all the way up to Denver because it's surprisingly not that far. It's like an hour drive. It's kind of like Baltimore to D.C. type of commute. Yeah. More and more people are moving south from Denver, so I think it's flooding Colorado Springs, which is not really built to handle that amount of people just quite yet. So I think that's what he was trying to get across, just came out poorly, I guess.
I mean, I can understand being annoyed by a bunch of people coming when you've been living there and you're used to a small town, and then it is growing and growing. So I can understand, but we did end up giving him business. So.
But his burgers, real good.
So good.
They were just basically, they were steak burgers made from cows from Kansas, which apparently his grandparents have a farm out there. And they ship stuff to him to sell in Colorado, which makes sense because Denver is a pretty large market. So I'm assuming you get more customers that way. Because as we drove through Kansas, there's not many people, I don't think, out there for that long of a drive. So I think he's saying that it's just they're more naturally raised and they roam the field, and all the well-kept Kansas soil, I think, is another main reason that it tastes so good. Because it's basically he cooked them with that and a little bit of, I kept saying salt, which is basically what it was, but put a little salt on it and it was delicious. And we had it last night. It was amazing. You made another burger for yourself because that was after we worked out, so our body was craving protein and I was very hungry, which I think that I noticed whenever we work out or I work out, I'm just hungry constantly throughout the day.
Yeah, especially when you work out in the morning, because then your metabolism is running faster later in the day. But I looked it up, and the population of the entire state of Kansas is 2.2 million.
Damn.
Which is really not a lot for
a whole state.
Yeah. Huge state and just not that many people, which I guess is nice because it's more of a country type
if you're
feel.
Into that, which I don't think you personally are.
Personally, no. But I know, like, different people are different, so you do you. Their cows are delicious, or their beef is delicious.
Also, I feel like this guy's facts about Colorado Springs. I'm looking at Google right now, looking at the population. It's definitely spiked up, but definitely not even close to the amount that he stated. I think he's being a little hyperbolic, but it's more like 500,000 that now are in Colorado Springs comparative to where it was a few years ago. At like 300,000. Yeah.
Although, let's see. The Colorado Springs metro population is 700,000, so maybe he was rounding up. That was 2 years ago.
What am I looking at here? Is Google lying to me?
No, so there's population statistics for an actual city, so Colorado Springs or Denver or any other city itself. And then if you do the metro population, that also includes some of those
like around it?
the
Gotcha.
outlying suburbs.
So not the actual city itself.
So you might technically say you live in Colorado Springs, but you really live in whatever Black Forest, which is a little bit north, a tiny town a little bit north.
Teaching me something new every day, babe. You're so smart. That makes sense with Denver, because if you look at, which is kind of strange, if you look at Denver County, like on the map, it's like such a weird outline.
Shape. Yeah.
So it's not even like collecting Aurora and farther south, which you sort of considered the Denver area. So, good to know.
And it's also, while we're talking about that, there's also a difference between the population of the Denver metro area versus just Denver, because the Denver metro area is 2.8 million, which is already more.
That's why I was confused when I was looking at the population. I thought the amount I was getting didn't make much sense because it was close to 700,000, but now that makes more sense because it's just a little Denver County area.
Yeah, whereas Denver itself is 693,000, but that doesn't include
all the suburbs.
That's literally just Denver, which is that weird shape and not anything else. So, yeah, fun facts we're learning.
Fun tips for the hot listeners. If you're ever looking up metro or city stats, make sure you look at the metropolitan population, not just the county of the city.
That's true. Gotta have a holistic knowledge and view of the population.
All right. I think that's about time we wrap it up, don't you think, babe?
Yeah, we've covered everything. Just as a reminder, it is Tuesday, July 31st is National Avocado Day.
So go get those free avocados or free guac.
Only at Chipotle. Free guac.
I'm sure there's probably promotions at other places, but I don't think we looked them up at the moment. I think Marta's looking up right now, but while she's doing that, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. If you're listening to us on the iTunes feed, scroll down, give us that 5 stars. You can follow us on Twitter at HotPod. You can find our Facebook page, facebook.com/HotPod. We're available everywhere, Spotify, Google Play, Overcast, all of the podcast listening services out there. So please give us a listen, give us feedback, comment, email us at hotpod@gmail.com. Again, email us questions, hotpod@gmail.com. We would be happy to read them and talk about them as we record, or maybe do a different episode with different questions, which would be fun. We're sort of kicking around the idea of doing another podcast in the week about a completely different, separate topic, but we'll see how that goes. Any other promotions for National Avocado Day that you found, babe?
Honestly, if you just Google National Avocado Day deals or promotions, there's a few different restaurants that are doing free avocado, free guac, or whatever. So just Google it. There's a few different places. Chipotle, I think, is the largest one because it's very widespread and a household name these days.
So when in doubt, just Google it is basically what you're saying.
Yep. Any question, just Google it.
Yeah, don't even listen to us. Just Google it. Basically, that's what you're saying right now, babe?
No, if you have questions about stuff we talk about, definitely listen to the podcast.
There you go.
Instead of Googling.
We just offer great information. Let me tell you. I think it's time to wrap it up. You want to say anything before we go?
Thank you for listening. Bye.
Bye, y'all. Have a good one.